Most consultants are super hardworking people. Like all of my clients are great, fantastic, brilliant at what they do. The problem that they have is this mindset that I used to have as well in terms of how to get the results, how to get to the goals we're after, is they think it's all about the hard work, right? So they think about like if I just wake up a little bit earlier, if I push more, if I do more content, more DMs, more of that stuff, then if I put the work in, if I'm, consistent, all that stuff, then everything else will kind of fall into place, will happen. And yes, I mean, obviously you have to have the volume, you have to reach out to people, you have to do all these things, that bring results and follow the kind of the very simple formula of do more of what works and less of what doesn't. But hard work is not a solution, is not the ultimate, idea behind the results. The impact is, right? So very often, like, what is the efficiency of the hard work that we kind of put in, right? Sometimes you might be working hard on the wrong thing, and that's the wrong strategy, right? That's the wrong thing to work on. And that's a wasted effort, that's a wasted talent, that's a wasted zone of your genius. Like if you're working hard on something, it feels like an uphill battle all the time. You might be doing something completely else, putting the same talent, same effort, or less, same skill, and get better results, right? And so it's important to differentiate those two things. How do we know, like, what should we focus on? Well, first of all, we have to understand what, like, we have to go in the right direction, right? If you go in the wrong direction, if you want to climb Mount Everest, but you go on the different mountain, and then you put all the effort in, you have all the gear, all the talent, all the skills, all the grit, all the passion, all the wake up 4 a.m. in the morning, but you're going towards the wrong mountain, or you take the wrong path on the Mount Everest, it goes around, then you're wasting your time and you're going the wrong direction, right? Or you're going uphill. I mean, you have to go uphill, but you're going, you're taking the more difficult route, right? So you need to first of all diagnose and understand, okay, well, what is my strategy? What is the direction? What do I need to be doing in my business so that I can get the results? And that typically starts with just stepping back a little bit for a second. And like my client says, slow down to speed up, right? You need to do that. You need to have a helicopter view, helicopter picture of like where you are in your business, where do you want to go, and think about what are the steps I need to take to get me where I want to go, right? And so what I do with my clients is I use a few tools to understand, what are the steps, what is the goal, how do we break this down? I use this tool called Goal Pyramid, where we look at the ultimate goal of in terms of money, in terms of, the experience we want to have, in terms of the lifestyle, and we break it down into the smallest pieces of understanding what do I need to do this week, what do I need to do today so that it gets me there, right? And once you have a proper map, a blueprint, then you can go all in and put all the hard work that's needed. And very often, when you have the map, you don't have to go as hard as you would have if you were just kind of trying, right? So that's number one. Number two, most consultants, the problem with most consulting businesses is that um, we are working on we're building a wrong shape of a business, right? We're building something that we were taught in terms of the model, how the consulting business should look like, and how do we operate it, and how do we get more clients. In terms of getting more clients, we're usually taught about this thing called a funnel, right? Leads, top of a funnel, a wide funnel up on top, spray and pray, and then some of those people will build awareness. Some of those people will be interested in what we do. They'll download a lead magnet, da 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 da, and then they will become clients. And then you deliver to them, right? And it's funny because that whole idea, it's a great idea. It's great from a marketing perspective, but it's too narrow and too detailed very often. And so we get too focused on, the offer, the sales page, the logo on our page and all that stuff, and on the things that really don't matter. And another issue with this is that at the end of the funnel, we get a client, and nobody is teaching us how do we actually deliver to the client, right? So everyone is fixated, focused on getting more clients, getting leads, building awareness, getting more views, getting more likes, getting more shares, getting more DMs. right? But nobody is thinking like, okay, what happens once that lead becomes my client? And very often what this causes is that we get more leads coming in, more clients coming in, hopefully, more money coming in, hopefully. But then what happens is that you now need to deliver. And because your delivery system or delivery model is broken, is bespoke, is custom, you're unable to do two things at the same time. You're unable to deliver and also keep getting the pipeline full. So that leads to this feast and famine cycle, right? Of something that I call a patch cycle as well, where you go, okay, I don't have clients. I'll go all in on lead generation. I get a few clients, typically end up making between 10 and 30K, between 3 to 5 clients. Fantastic. You feel like a king of the world. Now you have to roll up your sleeves and deliver. And that's something you're good at. That's something you're passionate about. That's great. But then when you do that, because every project is bespoke, every project is custom, you don't have the time. You have to go all in on it. You don't have the time to do the sales and marketing. So that stops, right? And then in 3 or 6 months, whatever, you end those projects wrap up. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, my pipeline is dry, right? And so you go back into a hustle mode of lead generation, right? So it's this cycle of feast and famine, right? Revenue goes up, then you deliver, and then revenue goes down because the pipeline is empty. And another kind of weird or interesting situation that happens then is also like, let's say you make 30 grand per month. For 3 months, you had this project, you made $90,000. You're like, wow, cool, I feel comfortable. And so you don't feel the pressure. You don't feel, if you don't have a system that keeps on going, you don't feel the pressure or the need to keep to work on more, or getting more clients, right? And so when that kind of another 3 months passes, let's say, so you're 6 months after you wrapped up the projects, you start being a little bit more agitated and anxious because the money is running out. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, it was great, it was fantastic, but now I don't have anything. Like I really like my, lifestyle, but now what do I do? And you panic, right? You panic, you're pressed against, in the corner, and like nobody should ever act from a, position of being forced to do something, right? And so that's the worst negotiation kind of position, to be pressured, right? Out of fear, or out of scarcity kind of mindset, right? Oh, I don't have more clients, so maybe I should lower my prices. Maybe I should agree for this, or to that broader scope. And what that brings, what that results in, is this snowball effect of like, oh, now I'm charging less. I have a big scope, a scope that I don't like, something I agreed on because I kind of had no option, right? And you start resenting those clients as well, right? And at the same time, because you're deep down in delivery, you're not working on the pipeline. And so it's a very, it's a shortcut to a burnout. And a lot of my clients have experienced that. They come to me saying, hey, I need more leads, but I'm also burned out. Maybe I should get more, a bigger team. And so typically what happens is the model that we're taught, right, when it comes to how do we build a consulting business, is this. We think that in order for us to make more money as consultants, you need to get more clients, right? And then in order for us to work with more clients, you need to get more support junior consultants, right? So you need to build a team. That's a typical approach. And a lot of businesses, service-based businesses, lawyers, accountants, big consulting firms, are built that way, right? Ernst & Young, Deloitte, whatever, right? It's a pyramid with partners and senior directors and whatever, right? A team or an army of juniors and analysts, and now AI, right? And so the problem with it is kind of twofold. One, this is a very inefficient system, and number two, I don't know if you wanted to be a babysitter for a junior consultant. If you wanted to manage people, I don't. Like I built 3 marketing agencies back in the day, and we had a staff of more than 20 people. And I loved what I did before that. I loved the marketing piece. I loved the consulting piece. I loved the strategy piece. But once you have the team, you now have to move to a different level, not necessarily a better level of managing those people, right? And so if that's what you want, if that's what you love, then more power to you. But most of us, they rather just manage themselves, ourselves, and not other people, right? So that's problem number one. And obviously problem number two with hiring a team is that your profits go down, right? So because your variable and fixed costs go up, yes, your revenue goes up as well, but like a profit efficiency or revenue is not linear when it comes to, revenue or profit is not linear, because the more clients you have, the more revenue you have as well, but also your costs go up because you hire more juniors. And then not only juniors, but then you also need to have a HR person and a different accountant and the operations manager and all that stuff. Like all of a sudden you're building this, what I call the hungry monster, right? And so that's the typical approach to how we think about scaling. And it's not the only way. This is not the only model. The other model is that, and obviously there's a lot of moving pieces in there, right? But the other model is, let me kind of back up a little bit. There's three ways to increase profitability of a business. First of all, increasing prices. Second, lower cost. Third, increase efficiency. And so 95% of my clients who come to me, they have to increase the price, right? That is the fastest way to make more money. If you can increase the price, you don't have to work with more clients. You can have the same client base, same number of clients at a higher price, you automatically make more money. That's obvious, right? I know what you're thinking. Well, it's not easy. If it was that easy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, I understand. This is just the big picture for now. Then the other lever you can pull, or lever, is that the cost, like lower the cost, right? And again, this goes back to hiring people. And now these days we have AI. We have the efficiency of AI that can increase the efficiency of our business, and that can lower our cost. I mean, you pay $20 for a subscription for ChatGPT or Claude, or 100 for the max option, whatever the price is right now. And it will do a lot of things for you, a lot of things that typically the junior would be doing or VA would be doing, right? So now we have the support of AI. The problem with efficiency and the price is that you can only go so high with the price and so low with the cost. You cannot have a negative cost, and you cannot go way above the market because nobody will pay you, right? There's a limit to it, and there are ways to increase the prices, and that's a topic for another video. But those are the two things, right? We need to pay attention to, okay, well, first of all, I'll try to lower the cost. Second of all, I'll try to increase the price. But then if I can't do that, what else is left, right? And the third piece is the efficiency. And the efficiency is the biggest lever you can pull. Because if you can, with the same amount, the same model that you have, with the same cost that you have, if you can work with more clients at an increased price still, right? Then automatically you make more money, make more money, right? So the idea is to find a model or build a consulting model that allows you to work with more clients instead of working with on custom projects and bespoke projects, right? So we call this a productization, right? How do we productize our business so that we can be more efficient? There's two sides of productization. One is, how do I productize my work behind the scenes? So I sell something to a client. How do I make my job more efficient? How do I make sure that I deliver things in an efficient way, right? So that instead of me doing something for 2 weeks, it takes me 2 days, for example, right? The other side of the productization coin is, what do I sell to a client? What do they buy? Do they buy a custom solution, or do they buy a productized version of what I do? Do they buy a system that I install in their business, or do they buy me and my time, right? Me and my time is the worst approach. You should never sell that. If you're selling yourself instead of a system, sell a value. Sell a solution, a deliverable, not a time, not an hourly rate, not a package. That's the worst that you can do, right? So in my programs, what I do with my clients, we look at those three things. We look at, okay, well, how can we increase the price? How can we lower the cost? How can we be more efficient? And we look at it from two different kind of perspectives too. In general, when I look at businesses and consulting businesses, we look at three elements. We look at how do we get leads? How do we get sales? How do we deliver for them, right? That's the whole kind of 100K consultant model, right? Something that I call the LSD framework, lead, sales, delivery, right? And then another element to it, another piece of it is how do I actually operate this whole thing? How do I operate this whole business so that I know exactly what to do on a Monday morning? I know what to do on a Tuesday night. I know what are all the missing pieces or the moving pieces, right? And I call this the consulting flywheel, right? Which is all the elements that need to be built in a consulting business, not only the funnel, the marketing side, not only the delivery side, but all the things, and not only how do I be productive, and not only how do I make more money and how do I increase prices, but how do I build and run this business, against this consulting flywheel idea, right? So what do I do when leads come in? What type of leads are coming in? What do I do with them? How do I diagnose whether they're a good fit or not? What do I do with those who are not a good fit now, but are potentially a good fit in 6 months? How do I nurture them? How do I sell to them? What is the offer? How does the offer look like? What is my delivery mechanism? What is my delivery model? And how do I leverage all of this if, once I have clients in, how do I manage and leverage that so that I can get more clients, right? So that's why it's a round, it's a flywheel, because one thing leads into the other and impacts the other element, right? So that's how I look at businesses. So a couple of things to kind of sum it up. Three levers you can pull to increase your profitability is price, cost, and then efficiency. In terms of efficiency, two sides of a coin when it comes to productization. Big picture idea of what we look at in terms of um, um, running a consulting business, lead, sales, delivery, right? How do I get leads? How do I sell? How do I deliver? And then another piece is the consulting flywheel. How do I run this whole operation? I wake up on the Monday morning and I know exactly what to do and exactly how I have all the tools in it, right, for it to deliver, right? So that nothing is left for to guessing or chance, right? Everything is pre-planned, everything is forecasted. So I'll see you in another video.